planning team introduce themselves as well. The next person that we have is Megan. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Megan Brandow. I'm Assistant Director of Career and Life Planning at NEC.
Kids finally came over.
And lastly, we have Shannon.
Hi, everyone. I'm Shannon Cherry. I'm a career advisor here at New England College. I've been with the school since last January, so we're looking forward to tonight, and thank you for joining us.
Great. So now I'm going to have our alumni that we have on our panelist team, have them each introduce themselves. I'm going to start with reading the first box that I have on my screen here. So I have Garth Gittins.
Whatever happened to ladies first? My goodness. Good evening. My name is Garth Gittins. I'm Canadian. I went to NEC back in the day. I graduated in 1984. Let's see how good your math is. That's 37 years. I played lacrosse mainly. I played soccer for 2 years. Once I left NEC, I worked 30 years in the sports field. So as a rep, working for Rollerblade, Adidas for 13 years. I coached women's program at a university here in Ottawa for 17 years. And now as I'm 60, I've been the last 4 or 5 years working in doping control. So surprise drug testing. I'm off to Tokyo end of the summer to do doping controls at the Olympics.
Wonderful. Thank you, Garth. Next alumni panelist we have is Jenny.
Hi, I'm Jenny Cooley. I graduated from NEC in 1990, and I played soccer and lacrosse at NEC. I live in New York City with my family, and I'm a school teacher.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you, Jenny. Next person I have on my screen is David.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you to Lorella, Bill, Lindsay, Shannon, and Megan. If I've missed anyone from the NEC community, just want to say thank you so much for having me on, and also welcome to my other panelists. Really happy to be with you this evening. I graduated New England College in 1995. I played basketball for all of my years with the school. Interestingly enough, I studied political science and psychology and have spent 24 years working on Wall Street. So I didn't really use my degree into my career, but a lot of things that we'll discuss here tonight really have helped me in my career with the school and what I was able to achieve with my time there. I want to give a little shout out to anyone from the men's basketball program that's joining us tonight. I saw Coach Mason on there. Even though it's a small school and we don't get to watch all like Division I athletes on TV, I get to log on and see some live stream with the basketball program. So that's really exciting. So just a hello to all my basketball teammates. And again, really proud to be on this panel tonight.
Great. Thank you, David. And last but not least, we have Laurie.
Hi, everyone. I'm really excited for this conversation and appreciate the invite. I'm Laurie Zaneboni. I graduated from NEC in 2007 with my undergraduate degree, and then in 2008 with my graduate degree. I played for the field hockey team, and we won 4 championships, went to the NCAAs all 4 years. I also, after I graduated, I assistant coached for a few years as well, and quickly learned that coaching was not a path that I enjoyed. So my entire career has been spent in the development world, and I am currently a regional director of major gifts at Phillips Exeter Academy in Exeter, New Hampshire.
Wonderful, thank you. Just a couple items I want to mention here as well. Students, you can feel free to drop your questions in the chat to everyone, and we will be monitoring that as well. We do hope to open out the conversation as a big conversation, all of us together, and then later on in the session, we hope to put everyone into breakout rooms. At one point, we will ask all the students in the room for you to let us know who you'd like to be in a breakout room with, and then we can break you out that way. But we'll get started with questions now.
Who's going to be
Okay.
first?
Crickets, I know. I was gonna say, oh, there's crickets in the room. Okay, so we'll start out with something fun. I want each of you to let us know about what your favorite memory of NEC was. It's an easy, quick icebreaker for everyone. And there's no order, you can just jump in and answer, analysts.
I can probably start. I just off the cuff, my favorite memory of NEC. Truth be told, that there are countless memories I have of NEC. It is truly my most favorite place in the world. I had the most incredible 4 years of my life there. And I feel so pleased to be connected still. The large majority of my dearest friends are all, as adults, we're all very close. That was a real highlight for me, the people that I met there. The teachers were extraordinary, and the sports were a complete blast. It was an opportunity to be an athlete, be a student, be very social. So I really can't touch on one single thing. It was an all-encompassing, wonderful experience.
I'll go next. Playing lacrosse, those guys were my brothers. We still see a lot of them. We still get on Zoom chats. We took a road trip to University of Tennessee, played at Tennessee Vols way back in the day, and we took about 6 cars, and it was an amazing trip. It was only a club team there, but yeah, just spending time with lacrosse guys. I mean, I pledge a fraternity, but it's got to be all about lacrosse and the wins and losses.
Well, I'll jump in. Garth, that was great. Interestingly enough, it's a great question. I can't say it's my favorite memory, but I do want to point out a memory of being a New Jersey kid right outside of New York City. New Hampshire was, even though 5 hours away, it seemed like it was a lot further. And as I pulled down through town, and I've made this comment before to people, that blinking light, I don't know if it's still there in the middle of the Henniker, but it was interesting, this beautiful little town. I kind of spoke funny with an accent. I didn't really know what a grinder was when I was ordering sandwiches, but got used to the beautiful community of New England College. And it was a great question. I have so many memories, but I'd probably say the favorite memory was my senior year, my senior day. I was the only senior left on my basketball team. Unfortunately, I had a pretty horrific knee injury, and all the seniors that I came in with all graduated a year before me, and I stuck around for an extra year. And my father and mother came up for it, and had a lot of fans there, and it was just a great memory to remember. And Bridges Gymnasium did not look at all like it does today. Coach Mason's done a great job transforming that gym into a little Cameron Indoor Arena. It did not look like that, but I still loved that gym the minute I walked in, and knew it was a place I could call home.
I think one of my favorite memories is definitely related to my time on the field hockey team. It was my junior year. We were playing Endicott in the final game of the championship. It was halftime. We were down 2-0, and we thought for sure that our coach was going to be upset with us. And she came running into the circle at halftime, and she was jumping up and down, and she said, "Okay, ladies, we've got this. We're going to do this, and we're going to win this game." And the crowd was 3 people deep surrounding the entire field. And we pulled it off. We beat Endicott 3-2 that year in the championship. And I get chills just thinking about it, of how we came back and won that game.
So I have a question, and I guess this is basically for any of the panelists. I'm sure you can all answer it. I think as you're playing sports, whether it be in high school or college, you go through some type of adversity. Maybe, like David mentioned, an injury. Maybe you didn't get named captain. Maybe you lost a really tough game. Maybe you didn't make the team one year. Whatever it is, in sports, you've definitely hit some type of adversity where you kind of hit a crossroads, and you either say it's for me or it's not. And if you made it to the level that, you folks did, clearly, you said that it was for me to play college sports. So my question is, how have you taken that lesson that you learned when you were in high school or you were in college, and you've now applied it to your everyday life? I was a college athlete as well, and I guess I didn't realize it in the time. but once you hit the work field professionally, like I use skills that I learned through basketball every single day in my professional life. So my question is to you is, how is that adversity that you hit? How has that affected you in your professional life? And did you realize it in the time, or did you not?
If I could stab at that, it's a great question. I mean, I mentioned the adversity I had with my knee injury that was pretty horrific. It was actually 2 knee injuries in less than 14 months. But in regards to adversity, that was a challenging time for me. I was really expecting to, have this great senior year with all my classmates. But what I learned from that year, I got very involved with the work study program at New England College, and that helped me tremendously. Not just playing a college sport and doing my studies, but learning how to manage. And actually, quite frankly, a lot of them were my peers. And doing work study programs that I was in charge of field management. And that was a tremendous help because it gave me a lot of confidence in how to deal with some challenges and let's put them in perspective. I was, at the time, an 18 or 19-year-old kid, but, having to deal with making sure everyone was at their proper times for their respective games, whether it be field hockey or at times we did the spring sports with baseball and softball. And that was a great opportunity that the school afforded me to really take that and run with it, because shortly after I graduated, I was right in the workforce. And I went on only one interview, and I've been with the same company for it's going to be 25 years in September. And some of those skills that I learned at New England College, both with adversity and, just normal course of my time there, were tremendously helpful and still to this day are helpful in my career. As you can see, I've got a jersey hanging in my office. I look at it every single day and, really proud of not just my time at NEC, but as proud, if not more, of how well the school is doing today.
I think as a senior or even a junior at New England College, you don't realize the kind of life lessons and the commitments you make to a sport, how that will affect the rest of your life. No one ever scored a goal by themselves. No one ever got an assist by themselves. It's always a team. No matter what sport, it's a team, whether it be encouragement, the coaching. So not to realize that coming out of university or college is just what happens. But when you get into it, you realize that there's this deprivation seniors are going to feel when it comes to October, when it comes to, just the fall, and you're not back with your family, your away family, your teammates, the school. That's a deprivation people have to face, and knowing about it and using that, whether to get yourself involved in sports outside of school once you're done. Yeah, it's hard to be aware of that at your age because everything is so much exciting. But once you get to the work world, as Dave said, you use lessons you learn there for sure. And it's a confidence as well.
I think for me, participating in athletics at NEC also, it gave me a structure to my day. And it required me to be a little more disciplined than a lot of my non-athletic friends. And it just, it's kind of set a path for me because it became almost a lifestyle that continued on through my life and has continued so that in college and in high school, it was school and sports. The sports part I always loved. And then especially, and then when I got to adulthood, now I'm still a teacher, so I am in a school environment, and then my day ends with physical activity. And it's just a rhythm that really works for me. And that started in high school and really, really cemented for me in college.
I think as an athlete, I didn't really recognize at the time that I was learning so many transferable skills that apply to the workforce. I mean, whether that's building relationships with your teammates, to figuring out what motivates certain teammates, to problem solving, to how to communicate with someone. I think many of us have been in very high stress situations during our athletic contests. And I think that certainly applies to work life where I'm able to take a step back and really look at the situation and think it through and solve it in a way where I'm not stressed out, and I'm able to work through things in a way that I think I wouldn't have been able to if I didn't have the experience of being part of a team and working with a diverse group of individuals.
Thank you. I think we have a question from the chat. So, okay, this is, did the school help connect you with a job right after graduation? I'm an upcoming senior, and one of my biggest fears is not being able to pay off my student debt and work towards my career goal after I leave the school. So first of all, at Career, and I'll just put it in before I turn this over to the panelists, but I just want to say Career and Life Planning is here to help you every step of the way with searching and through the whole application process, even the negotiation process, and even after you graduate. So you can always call on us, and I'm going to put in the chat the link to Handshake, where you can make an appointment, as many appointments as you want with Megan, Shannon, or me. So definitely avail yourself of that. I know this is a busy end to your senior year, but we're here for you, and tons of appointments.
I would just reiterate what Lindsay just said, and that is to use your people there. That's number one. And then also, especially for those of you who might be on this Zoom that are looking to go into education, use the department. I can't really speak for other departments, but I can tell you that my department, the Department of Education, when I was there, was an enormous resource for me. And so you use the adults that are there for you.
Similar to what Jenny shared, my first job after I graduated was actually at NEC. I was an annual fund officer in the Office of Institutional Advancement. But I would echo Jenny that utilizing your network is probably the most important thing you can do. My places of employment after NEC, I was able to get interviews because I utilized my network. So it could be a friend of a friend, and utilize your NEC network as well. I mean, I don't know of anyone that is ever going to discourage you from sending an email, just introducing yourself and asking for some information and making that connection that way.
And, you know, to the other panelists, Jenny, I thought well said, and using all the tools that are at your disposal at the school, that's so important. It's so great that that's there for all of you. Knowing that I've only had one job, it probably is not a great background to describe of you know, what I'm about to say, but I did want to point this out that even though I was a political science major and I kind of tripped into Wall Street, so to speak, playing a sport really helped me. The gentleman that was looking to hire me to put me on a trading desk with no experience loved the fact that I had played a college sport. And quite frankly, as I've continued my career and managed upwards of 65 people at one time, I really do. I'm not going to say I'm biased towards an athlete. I look at every resume, but when I do see a college athlete on a resume, it does speak to some of the things we discussed earlier about dedication, work ethic, being able to work with others in a team atmosphere, not just on the fields or the courts or the ice, but you know, when you get into the workforce. So knowing that you've played a college sport, really highlight that. I think that's a really imperative on resumes and career finding. And quite frankly, if you do make those connections where the hiring person did also play a college sport, that's an instant connection, and just never discount that. It was a really, really big part of my you know, job search to actually get on a Wall Street firm because of my athletic background.
And I was just going to ask, and this is really for anybody, but Laurie, you mentioned about being in stressful situations through athletics, which is totally a true thing. And I kind of would just be interested to hear from all of you about that and how it applies to your everyday work life, you know, and it can be a stressful thing. I mean, if you go to a men's basketball game at New England College, Coach Mason's gotten his guys picking you up full court. Everyone's yelling. It can be a very stressful situation. So I think when you take that and then you fast forward to 5 or 6 years down the road and you have a deadline for work, it might not seem as stressful because you've been through some of those things where you're in front of a lot of your peers and you have to perform. So I would be interested to hear some of the stressful situations that you guys went through as athletes and how that's helped you in your work life now.
I think one of the big things, and Jenny might have mentioned this, time management. As a student athlete, you have to figure out how to manage your time. You have deadlines you have to meet in order to turn in papers and be prepared for a test. And same thing in the work life. There are deadlines that you have to meet. You have to prepare for presentations. You have to be prepared for meetings. And so I just think in game preparation, all of those skills that you do to prepare for a game are completely transferable to your work life. And you just figure out systems that work for you. And but certainly having been in stressful situations, it prepares you very well for your work life. And I'm just giggling because I can remember Coach Mason running up and down the court and telling his basketball players what to do. And that's why he's a great coach. And that's why they've been having winning seasons. So he's preparing you well for the future.
That's for sure. Coach Mason probably would have cut me if I tried out for him back in the day, but that is a really great point. And to your point as well about the stressful scenarios, I mean, don't discount the fact of how much preparation you've already all had in playing a college sport. We can look for all different scenarios and how it will come up in your career, whatever field you're in. It's across all spectrums. I mean, Jenny's a teacher, I trade stocks for a living. We both have our stresses throughout the day, I'm sure, and no different than the other panelists. But the fact that you've played a college sport with teammates and gone through grueling preseasons and probably grueling seasons, and I'm sure you love all your teammates, and unfortunately at times you might not love all your teammates. So you have to be able to. All of this is transferable into the workforce, and it really, I would think, don't discount how much preparation you already have by playing a college sport, which obviously New England College has afforded us that opportunity to play and be competitive, and go in confident to that work interview, go in confident to that workforce that you've already been training for this next phase of your life, which is your work career. So just be confident about that.
I'd like to add what to David said. When you have a system of, you practice, you play, and you get your work done, when you're putting that on a resume, you're a college athlete, but you also achieved this and did this as well. In other words, time management seems like nothing, but when I coach, my students were never so lost when the season was over. And then they started sleeping and started missing classes. But when the season was on or they were preparing for it, they knew what they had to do, and they knew the time they had to do it in, and they knew they wouldn't get to play if they didn't complete the certain tasks. So it's important to show that on the resume, but also it's the balancing of athletics and whatever else it is, whether it be volunteer work, whether it be caring for somebody, or just keeping your grades up. So you've been taught those skills, just apply them to the workforce where you balance stuff.
Just got another question from the chat. Continuing on those pursuing a career in education, would you advise future educators to use their sport insight to pursue coaching as well?
I feel like I can definitely answer that. And the answer is yes, yes, yes. Educators are, especially the younger ones, are always being invited and asked and begged to coach. And that is a wonderful thing to do. I sort of like Laurie discovered very soon after I started coaching that it was much less inspiring for me personally to stand on a field and watch other people run around. That's just me personally. And so I didn't really end up doing a whole lot of coaching when I became a teacher, very surprisingly. However, I will tell you, if you are looking to become a teacher and you become a teacher, whether it's, you know, lower school, middle school, upper school, they all want coaches. So even if you're looking at lower school teaching, you can still jump right into the middle and high school as a coach. And I encourage it. They will be all over you for that. And you will get paid. You won't get paid like you do a teacher, but it's some extra pocket change for sure. And I think for most people, it's an awful lot of fun, and it's a great way to connect with students.
So I'll go ahead.
Yeah, I actually have a question. So I'm an international student here. So I was wondering how easy or how often you see international students like working or in your areas of expertise or jobs. So I was wondering if you know about that.
I'll go first. Sorry, you're an international student from where?
I am from Colombia.
Sweet, nice. So I was an international student from Canada at NEC. The skill transfer of playing a sport, being dedicated, still translate, whether you're from Colombia or from wherever. So it makes no difference. You have an advantage because you have a different perspective on many things that people will take for granted, and whether that be your surroundings, whether that be the climate, whether it be the way people do this or do that. Having multi-languages, it's like learning to play music. You have a deeper understanding of certain things. So I don't think being an international student changes anything. If anything, you have to probably be a little more assertive. And I find that with females and with visible minorities, you really have to stand up and make sure yourself or you're heard. And yeah, international students, all same skills are transferable.
I also just wanted to add into what Garth says, that if you're speaking if you have a second language under your belt, that is a huge advantage, a real plus. So you want to make sure that people know that you are multilingual.
So another question that I had for you folks is, you know, I think that when you're an athlete, you really understand that you have to be able to deal with authority, probably your captains and the coaches most specifically. And, you know, sometimes players can deal with that and sometimes they can't. And you either stay on the team or you don't, sometimes as a reaction to the way that you might deal with that authority. But as you kind of get older, you realize that you might have to have a little bit tougher skin if you want to keep your job, if you can't deal with authority once you get to the workforce. You know, getting kicked off maybe your varsity soccer team or whatever, it's not as big of an impact down the road as it would be if you lost your job, if you couldn't deal with the way that a boss is talking to you. So I would be interested to hear some of those skills you know, that you guys learned with dealing with captains, with dealing with coaches when they had a tough conversation with you, and how that helped you in your professional job now.
If I could take a stab at that, that's a great question. And, you know, I want to say it was 3 coaches in my 5 years of playing, you know, all different personalities, of course. I actually was a team captain for 2 years, and you know, a real attribute that I learned is how to listen. I think it's so impactful and important to, you know, you listen to your teammates that are coming to you for advice on behalf of the coach. You know, when we're in college, we all think we're the best, we know it all. And trust me when I say this, I have a 17 and a 15-year-old son and daughter, and they think they're the best and they know it all. So it's challenging to say the least. And, you know, I try to explain to them that in a perfect world, you have a great boss, you have great teachers, you have great friends, but in the real world, unfortunately, sometimes that isn't the case. So understanding that you can listen and hear what people are trying to explain or tell you or even teach you, digest it and be able to, come back to be stronger, better. Even if it's something that you don't necessarily believe in, you giving them the opportunity to tell you from that authority side, whether it be, again, a boss or a teacher or whatnot. I think it's really important. So I learned those skills while I was NEC as a player and a captain, and I use them to this day.
Thank you.
Building off of what Dave said, I think many times I told myself that especially with my coach, if she was coming to me and telling me how to do something, it was because she knew that I could be better than what I was currently doing. And so I owed her the respect and at least trying to do what she was asking of me. And I've applied that in my career, where if a boss comes to me and is providing me with a suggestion, 9 times out of 10, they're usually correct. And as Dave said, I think listening and reflecting on what's being shared with you is really important. And just know that they're coming to you from a place of caring and wanting you to learn and grow.
I think one question that I really appreciate kind of the honesty that everybody's been sharing. And I think thinking back to that first job and the application, because that's where a lot of students are, or maybe they're looking forward to an internship this summer or thinking about a summer job, thinking about skills that they could potentially earn. So I guess it's sort of a two-part question about, hey, what kind of things do you wish you had picked up in college, or what, and then thinking about those, that first application, do you have any tips for that, or what was that experience like? And maybe, maybe a little bit of if it applies to you, what skills do you look for as you're hiring new talent?
These are great questions. I had to just jump right in, because the first thing I wanted to say before any of this is that I have such a distinct memory of rounding out in my senior year. And it wasn't bittersweet. It was kind of miserable, because first of all, I was leaving my home where I felt secure, and I had been sort of protected and coddled and had an opportunity to be a big fish because it was a small place and play my sports and have my friends and do well in school. And why would you ever want to leave that? And I'm telling you this because I thought it was worth saying that for those of you that are worried and feel anxious, I will tell you that it does work out, truly. And you'll find your wings, and, just try to, again, use the resources that are being offered to you right now, so that, and lean on and into those people. You'll probably visit with them either virtually or in person for a number of years post graduation. They won't go away the day you graduate, and try to just kind of ride out this time a little bit. Enjoy, if you guys have any sort of spring weekend and all of these events that sort of culminate the senior year. I totally understand it's different this year given the circumstances, but just try to take a little bit of a step back, appreciate what it is, and know that you will find your way.
I would add to that is that just like when you come to school and you want to take this particular course so badly and you get into it and you don't like it, if you take, your path leads you different ways. So because you graduated with this, you want to get into that field so badly. Sometimes it's good to go out and try different things. And as a new person to the workforce, sometimes you have to go a different way and try different things just to pay the bills. Very seldom, unlike Dave, very seldom people are going to hire somebody and that's going to be the rest of their lives. So don't be discouraged by having to work here or there to get to where you want to go, because quite often you might find you take a different path. And seniors, you have a great advantage and you should use it. And that's the modern technology. You can be in touch with so many people and your friends and still have that closeness, where we used to write letters, like piece of paper, and you guys know what that is? Okay, we used to write letters. So you guys have a chance to be in contact with people, and that's a great thing. And don't take it for granted, but go out and you can still enjoy. Sometimes you have to give a little time before you try and get into the field that you want, because no job without some sort of background or some sort of skills, and no skills without some sort of working. So don't be too hard on yourselves.
One piece of advice I would just give is in regard to your resume and cover letter, please make your cover letter unique and personalize it beyond just saying you're applying for this specific job at this specific place. Take the time to really do something that makes you stand out in your cover letter, because I can tell you that in reading cover letters and resumes, if you can do something that shows that you really want the position and have taken the time to review the job requirements and do something different in that first line of your cover letter, you're more likely to get noticed, especially when hundreds of people are applying for the same position. And ask people to review your resume and cover letter. It seems so simple, but the more people that you ask, they're going to notice the little things that really stand out when someone is reading an application.
Yeah, could you share a little bit about sort of what mistakes you see people kind of put, like the do's and do nots?
You can tell pretty much right off the bat if someone's just changing the job title and the place within a cover letter. Even the simplest things of missing a period in a sentence, taking the time to even find out who the hiring manager is and writing that cover letter to Dear Laurie, or Dear Laurie's Director of Institutional Advancement, something that makes it known that you're doing your research and really want the position, certainly helps.
Thank you. I just put in the chat a good article on cover letters that talk exactly about that, like what to do in that first sentence, how to grab the attention.
Garth said something that really struck a chord, and I appreciate it, was about, learning, and maybe if you don't like something at your job, if that's okay. And so at Oppenheimer, the company I work for, we have a pretty nice internship program. I don't know what it looks like now post-pandemic, but in the past, I would always tell the interns this is more applicable for, maybe not necessarily graduating senior, but someone that's looking for an internship position in whatever field it may be. It's okay to not like what you're doing at that moment, because you've just saved years and years of time and effort. There's so many interns that come in and they all say they want to be in trading, or they all want to be in research, or they all want to be in banking. And I always tell everyone, slow it down. And after you spend 3 weeks, a month, 6 weeks in this internship program, and you really don't like that title that you were in, or the department, I should say, that's a score. That's a great thing. If you can come out of this knowing what you don't want to do versus you stressing to find out what you do want to do. I mean, you're all young student athletes, and there's plenty of time to get into your career and find what you want to do and love what you want to do. But, take it slow. Don't put so much pressure and stress on you. And again, if you come out of that program, whatever it might be, not liking it, that's a good thing. As in, you've just saved yourself years and years of frustration trying to do something that you might really have known right off the bat you didn't want to do.
David, you touched on it before a little bit, kind of when we first started talking, but we talked about bringing up that you were a student athlete in interviews. And I kind of want to just circle back to that, because I think that is such an important piece for a lot of our student athletes to bring up when they're in interviews. I do think that there's a connection to be made there. And clearly we've talked about some of the skills that you build through that. So my question is, how would you folks recommend bringing that up without just saying, hey, I played lacrosse in college, and kind of just throw it out there? For example, like a couple interviews that I've been in, I just say, hey, you know, when they ask me a question about maybe dealing with a tough situation, I might say, hey, you know, I learned that when I was a college basketball player, I really learned how to jump from failure to failure without the loss of enthusiasm. That's what being on a basketball court really taught me. And I think if you take that angle in interviews, I really think that it can be an advantageous angle to take to help you get a job. So I'm just curious as to how you folks would play that out and what that might look for you if you were interviewing for a job.
I mean, for one, I would say you would most certainly put that all that information on your resume, and then it'll more than likely come up because it's a personal connection for people, whether they were athletes or are athletes themselves or just you know, interested in athletics. It's always a conversational piece. So you put down I would put down all your athletic pursuits at NEC, any awards, MVP, captain, which obviously shows leadership, and really get that information out there. And then I believe it'll come up in conversation. If for some reason it doesn't, and it isn't, I'm almost sure that if it's on your resume and you're having an interview, it will come up. But if for some reason you're speaking with someone, I would just weave that in. It's a big part of my life. I played soccer in college. I played lacrosse. I played basketball. You know, whatever it is that's your sport and your thing, you want to share. That's a huge part of your young resumes.
Thank you.
All I'd add to that is make sure you read the room. Right, just read the room. So this thing called Google, I think you guys have probably heard of it in the States. We have it in Canada. You've got the person you're going to meet. You know, it doesn't take any time or any technology to find out that they're a dancer. They played in the choir, and you know, there's no sport or there's lots of sport. So without being creepy about it, you know if you can go down that path or not. So read the room. Try this Google thing. I hear it's quite good.
Okay, I have a question for the panelists. So I think a lot of seniors nowadays are not sure whether they should continue education beyond their bachelor's degrees, and they don't know what directions to go in. And so I'd like to ask the panelists here, if you have any advanced degrees beyond NEC, is it required by your field? And did you go right after school, or did you wait a little bit? Just get a little insight on that.
Okay, I'll start first because I'm going to be real quick. I was a very solid C student at NEC. I went to the class, went to all sorts of libraries, and higher education, unless there's sports involved, wasn't going to happen. So sometimes it's going to take time off, but at the end of the day, if you're the 90th percentile or you're the 60th percentile, as I was, it's how you present yourself. So going for a higher degree, student loans, debt, you really have to want that. And I think giving time, the gap year for university, to see where you need to go. So I'm hesitant about that because it's more money, and is it really going to get you to the next step?
Oh, go ahead, Dave. You're
Sorry,
next.
Jenny. I'll just be really quick. Not only is Garth better looking than me, he's a better student than me as well. So yeah, I had no advanced degree on my end. I just kind of jumped right in the workforce, but I totally agree with Garth's point. I mean, you got to really, really want it and go for it. And I'm sure that is very helpful in a lot of careers. I would say to this day now, I'm going to be 50 in November. If I were to have to do it all over again, I probably, in the field that I'm in now, you know, it goes a long way to have a secondary degree. But I'm just proud of my bachelor's degree from Newland College.
On the heels of both of you, I will say that I too was not so much of an academic, surprise, surprise. I really struggled in high school, landed at NEC sort of by the skin of my teeth, started to evolve as a student there, largely because of the nurturing. Made a decision more or less of what I thought I wanted to do post my senior year, which was to be in education, but not an elementary school teacher. And I ended up knowing I was going to need a secondary degree to get where I wanted to be, which was to be a high school guidance counselor. But before I jumped into that, because it seemed absolutely daunting, I took a gap year, and I volunteered. It was in 1989. It was after Hurricane Hugo had hit. So now it was 91. And I went down, I worked for a church, lived at a church, and spent a year doing volunteer work and applying to graduate school. And I had decided very specifically what it was that I wanted to do. And I found the schools that could offer that degree very specifically, because I knew as a not so much of a student, I didn't want to end up with, kind of working my way through a degree slowly and painfully, and then not really quite know what to do with it. I ended up going to Columbia University, believe it or not. I geared up for 2 years of not working and just going to school, because I had the privilege of my parents being able to pay for it. So there's that, which I understand is not everybody's opportunity. But I made the best of it. I did a 2-year program. I got a master's degree and a master's in education. I was not a straight A student like everybody else there. I was like a B+ student, and it didn't matter. I finished that with an internship at a public high school in Washington Heights. That was the best part of the program. And I graduated with a degree that enabled me to work as a counselor in a school. But I went in very focused with what it was that I wanted to do. And that kind of pared it down for me. So that's sort of the long version, and I'm more than happy to talk more with anyone who wants to talk about the decision to go to graduate school. I will say one more thing. I'm sorry, I'm totally monopolizing here. But at some point midway through my degree at Columbia University, I actually wrote a letter to New England College talking about how far better my experience and relationships with teachers were at NEC comparatively to Columbia. I was just a number at Columbia, and I didn't make a lot of friends, and it was a real grind. And I'm certainly very glad to have that degree under my belt, but it was like Garth, NEC was really the place to be for me, for sure.
I do have my master's from NEC, and it's not required for my job currently. And just thinking about this, if my best friend is an art therapist, she knew she wanted to be an art therapist. And so she knew she would have to get her graduate degree and take more schooling. So if you know exactly what you want to do and you know that requires additional school, absolutely. I think I might have earned my master's degree because I wanted more time to figure out what I wanted to do. And I think Jenny touched on a good point about volunteering. While it's not necessarily that you'll get paid, I think there are many volunteer roles that will provide you with a lot of skills and a lot of opportunity to try different things, to find out what is of interest to you that isn't necessarily going to cost you any money. So that could be another option if you don't necessarily want to spend the money to go to graduate school. I think there are a lot of volunteer opportunities for people that can really help and also build your resume at the same time.
Just want to add to that, as far as building a resume, volunteer hours, non-paid or whatever, are huge on a resume, especially when they're, whether it be at a humane society shelter or whether it be with kids or whether it be wherever. People look at that and it shows a caring and it shows a nurturing, whether you're male or female, that you can give of yourself. And playing 9 sports or traveling to 20 countries doesn't really catch your eye if it's not balanced with some giving of yourself, Boys and Girls Club, whatever it might be. So that's huge for a resume.
I really appreciate this question, these answers, and I think circling kind of back onto talking about that life work balance during school. I wanted to kind of know a little bit about in what ways does your current position or career kind of affect the life that you have, so thinking about life work balance now in your career.
Well, in terms of life work balance, and like I said, I work in the stock market. In my 24 plus years, I might have had 5 times I've been out to lunch. So I'm a straight through every single day. Now I work from home with the post pandemic, but I left New York for South Carolina 6 years ago. My firm transferred me down here, and it's a stressful day. I straight through every single day. And like I said, no lunch break, high amount of stress, a lot of stress on the eyes. Certainly not saying others don't have other stresses in their life. They certainly do. But I try to leave it after the close, which closes at 4 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, and try to get off the email. And, currently I did coach some youth sports for years. I did enjoy that, but now I'm just a supporter. My son plays lacrosse. I'm very active in that, watching him. I know Garth's shaking his head. He's in the state championship in South Carolina on Saturday. I have to give him a shout out. And I'm also, try to be supportive of my daughter and all the things she's doing. She's an incredible academic student, and I just try to leave work and the market behind, because the market, in terms of the Wall Street, it's not going to stop or continue because of me. It's going to keep going, and it continues to do what it does with or without me. So I kind of just try to have some sort of balance with that during the day it is so stressful and takes a lot of the effort to enjoy the evenings with friends and family.
I would say getting into my field, which was always sporting goods, always sales, it was never going to be a payday. It just wasn't going to be a payday. But coaching and doing sales allowed me more time with my family, allowed me more time with my athletes for 17 years, seeing all these athletes come through. So I was more than willing to give up a payday going someplace else or relocating to give back to the sport. And with female athletes, they really needed more attention because they weren't getting it from different institutions. So yeah, knowingly, I stayed with sports, working in it, selling it, just to enjoy it and also spend time with my family. So yeah.
Education is a great field for balance. I believe it's, I'm not going to tell you that you get the summers like most people think, because you don't, but you do get more breathing room than a lot of other fields. I find it that I've been able to be a more present mom. I have 2 kids as well. And I'm also able to pursue my own things, which is, exercising every day, mainly running and cooking and other things. I like to be at home at night too. So education offers opportunities for a good, solid lifestyle and balance, I will say.
I'm an extremely goal-oriented person, and my job has very specific goals, but I'm fortunate that my supervisor is someone who believes in, as long as you get your job done, I don't care where you are or how you are doing it, but just get your job done. And so for me, that has really helped emphasize the importance of work-life balance and self-care, and making sure that I utilize my vacation time, because that is part of your package that you are given when you sign on for the job. And so I'm imagining that everyone in this room is very goal-oriented and very driven, and that just a reminder that you can only perform at your best when you've gotten your sleep, you've eaten, you've done things that you enjoy. So there will always be work, but I think just doing the best you can, reaching those goals, but then taking that time to take care of yourself is really important.
Sorry, can I call out the students? I'd like to hear some student questions. Okay, so let's go. Bring it on. No more of the questions for anybody else. Students, come on, bring it on.
Garth, you threw down the gauntlet.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Come on.
I was gonna say, you beat me to the punchline. I was just gonna call everyone out too.
I'm gonna miss Jeopardy. I mean, I missed it last night for lacrosse, which was well worth it, always well worth it. But come on, students, you must have some questions. Okay, and then I'm gonna pick on the coaches. Coaches, you must have some questions. Come on, students. Do they know about spring break and the 2 braces? No, sorry, we're talking about careers, sorry.
Anybody? Because, oh, yes, we have a raised hand.
Perfect. Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Anybody? Anybody? Come on, Will. I see you there looking at me, Will. Come on, Will.
Is it my turn to speak?
Sure, go for it. Yes, absolutely.
What I was gonna ask the panel sort of say was that during your time at NEC, obviously you guys struggled with adversity and faced a lot of hard battles with like time management and stuff like that. But what were some of your motivators to like really like keep you at it and make you guys keep pushing towards like your goals?
Well, I'd say, first of all, at 18 and 19, you have no idea what adversity is and what struggles are. So that was just a part of daily life. So we couldn't classify them that way. I mean, once again, sports are so important. Sports are the identification of the school. I've never connected with anybody from any single class I went to, and I went to all my classes and I knew where the library was. So with sports, it's just a part of the process. So it isn't about knowing you're struggling or adversity, it's doing it as a team. And when you're a team, even around campus, it's so great to be able to see people and say hi. Hockey guys go out and support the girls basketball, field hockey. It's so good. So to answer your question, we didn't know we had adversity. We were just fighting through it, and we had the support of coaches and teammates and the student body to help us. So you learn, but as Jen said, the minute you left NEC, there's a deprivation that comes to you in October that you're not in this comfortable, warm place where you knew how things worked. And coaches warn you about that. When you're not in training, you still have to keep your grades up.
Yeah, well said, Garth. And it's a great question. And you definitely, in my book, get a gold medal for using the hands up emoji. I don't know if we're giving prizes out tonight, but you're getting one from me because that's pretty cool. I never saw that before. It's really neat. Just to touch base a little bit, and maybe I'm going off here a tad, but I struggled. I wasn't a great student. Playing college basketball, there was a lot of, we didn't take planes anywhere. Everything was these long bus rides. This was back when we were in the Commonwealth Coast Conference, and trips to Rhode Island and trips to Boston, on a random Tuesday night. And unfortunately, you get home pretty late. We pull into the Bridges Gymnasium parking lot well past midnight. And certainly, not that I was a procrastinator now in my life, but back then I would maybe have put off some studies. So I struggled to keep up with my studies, and I really leaned on my advisor and some of my professors that I had a great relationship with. And they were very willing to help me. The fact that we were all student athletes in small class settings, and taking advantage of that communication, that I would go to them and say, hey, I'm struggling with this. I got home late last night. I play a sport, and they seemed across the board of my whole time there, very willing to help, and, being able to ask for that help versus, getting behind in one of your classes and not saying anything, doesn't ever work. It won't work in your career as well. If you're struggling with a deadline or something came up, we speak on my desk, and I have a group of 10 now. It's, if you see something, say something. You have a problem, say it, and we'll help you out, kind of scenario. So I know that's not maybe the adversity that you're thinking of from like the court and playing, but the struggles that I had in terms of keeping up, I really thank my advisors and also professors for really helping me and taking the time.
There is actually no shame in asking for help, and do that. Reach out to your teammates, reach out to your boss, reach out to a friend, a colleague, and seriously, asking for help is one of the best things that you can possibly do, because I'm sure whomever you ask will be more than willing to help you and work through whatever you're struggling with.
It looks like there's a question in the chat of the favorite lacrosse memory.
Garth, that's all you.
I can't unmute. I can't unmute. I can't unmute. The favorite lacrosse memory is just being around the guys. Certainly, we had a player who drove the school bus both ways. So he played the game, and then he would drive the bus, which is unbelievable. Driving down to Tennessee, clearing the lower field off down on the lower field, not on campus. We would clear it off, and people would put kegs in the snowbanks, and we would play on that field, and the people would surround it with kegs. And we broke into the municipality salt shed to get salt out to break off the snow. But I still see these guys. I still see Howie Rover. I still see Louis Picula, and we love it. And Coach puts on a great alumni game. We get to talk to the players. So I hate to say this, but I'm frustrated with the school because we spend so much on arts and science and stuff, but I've never, ever remembered a day in class. I went, I did go, but I remember the late nights getting back. I remember driving down to New Jersey, that stuff. So as a college athlete, I think all the athletes would admit that they remember those trips, trials and tribulations. But certainly just all of the memories of playing lacrosse with the guys, and there were some losses for sure.
Okay, well, I want to respect everyone's time. We're a little bit over time for tonight, but I wanted to give the panelists, if you guys want to give the students in the room kind of one last piece of advice or one last tidbit of advice before we get going, what would it be?
Should I start? I'll go with this. Great question. Never stop following your dreams. I was a slow, not a great player, played college basketball, was a captain, actually got in the Hall of Fame, completely outdid my coverage in terms of meeting my wife, and she has to put me up with me every single day, have 2 wonderful kids and a great career. And never stop following those dreams. Anything is achievable and everything's achievable if you really believe in that. I know it sounds cliche, but it's the truth. And I really believe I'm one that can speak to that. I wasn't a great student as I brought up. I'm not, afraid to admit that. There's so much competitiveness now out there with studies, and just do your best, follow your dreams. And, use NEC for everything it has there to offer. And you can see tonight with the amount of support on the call of the faculty and staff that are out there supporting you. They're there to help, and they will offer their help forever. So good luck to all. And I really appreciate everyone's time, and thanks for having me on.
Thank you.
This is a tough question. I just say create your own path. Do what you love. Don't do what someone tells you you have to do. Forge your own path. Find something you're passionate about and really go after it. And use your network. I'm happy to put my email in the chat. You can reach out to me anytime. I'm happy to help however I can. And it's a really exciting time. I know it might feel scary, especially for the seniors in the room, but it's a really exciting time, and there are so many opportunities out there for you, and NEC has prepared you very well, and especially because you're a student athlete, you're going to do great things.
And I would agree with that. I think that you won't realize how well you're prepared until you're out a little bit. And I think speaking, and we've all sort of admitted, being a top student isn't really the end all be all here. Doesn't really mean a whole lot in the end. It's really just about, how you conduct yourself in the world, and making smart decisions and having a little fun along the way. NEC was always very good at that too.
Well, I'd like to thank the other panelists because I've learned a lot from them. And one of my goals every day is to learn something new. It may be trivial, maybe not right for Jeopardy, but you can learn from everybody. And as coaches, they all know their student athletes teach them something, mostly things they want to know. I would say make the effort to stay in touch. And stay in touch these days is a lot easier than it has been. And whether it be sending a joke or reaching out to the coach, or just make the effort to stay in touch. And then I would say live in the moment, because we're trying to impress upon you that how good NEC is, how well it surrounded you. So look around and thank people. You know, my philosophy is leave people happier than you found them, right? And that's not hard. That's a smile, that's a thank you, that's a whatever. And then give back. And giving back means going out to the high school and helping kids out. It means helping out wherever you can in whatever way you can. You don't have to be an excellent player to give back, as far as, you know, being a star to give back in basketball or lacrosse or whatever it is. So I would always say give back and leave people happier than you find them. It's not that hard to do.
That's wonderful. Thank you, everybody. I just wanted to echo, you know, what we've said throughout the night tonight. Thank you so much to the panelists for the time that you've taken to give these students some great advice. I've learned a lot over the last few alumni student roundtables that we've been to, we've hosted, and I've been out of college for 10 plus years as well. So it's really helpful no matter what age you are to have these conversations and learn a little bit from your peers. With that said, if you ever have would like to connect with alumni, whether you're still a student or you are an alum of the college, please contact our office. We can help you. And those of you that are still students here, please get in touch with Career and Life Planning. They can also help you as well. We are great resources for you. We can help make these connections. And I know some of the panelists are dropping their information in the chat, but if you don't grab it before we log off tonight, please let us know, email us, and we can get you in touch with the panelists as well. But thank you everyone for joining us tonight. I hope you got some great information, and I hope you have a wonderful night.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Laurel.
everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Take care.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a nice day, guys.
Thank you.